So in this video, I'm going to give an outline of acid-base disorders. Acidosis, alkalosis, as you all know, fall in pH or rise in pH respectively, and both the conditions are devastating, potentially lethal. So acidosis, fall in the pH. There are two subvarieties, metabolic and respiratory. Likewise, alkalosis, rise in pH may be of metabolic type or of respiratory type. Now, the purpose of this short video, very short video, in fact, is to bring about discrimination of metabolic and respiratory varieties. Because in the recently concluded some of the tests, I found that this is a point where students confuse maximum. Now, let us try to understand this with the help of Henderson-Hasselbalch equation. pH is equal to pKa log of ratio of bicarbonate concentration and partial pressure of carbon dioxide multiplied by a constant. I think it is 0.23. Now this pKa, it is an immutable constant. For bicarbonate buffer, its value is 6.1. And this, as we said, 0.23 is this constant. Now, an important point here is that the only variable factor in this whole equation is ratio of bicarbonate and PCO2, the encircled portion. So the pH can vary only if this ratio changes. If the ratio increases, pH will also increase. The condition will be alkalosis. If the ratio falls, pH will also fall. The condition will be acidosis. Now, first of all, let us see how this ratio can fall. There are two ways in which any ratio can fall. Either you decrease the numerator or you increase the denominator. So you either decrease the bicarbonate concentration or you increase the PCO2. When the primary defect is fall in the bicarbonate concentration, then the condition is metabolic acidosis. So metabolic acidosis means the numerator of the equation has undergone a change, a fall. And in respiratory variety, the denominator PCO2, rise in the partial pressure of carbon dioxide. This is fall in the pH of respiratory origin. This is respiratory acidosis. On the same lines, alkalosis, either of metabolic origin or of respiratory origin. Metabolic means rise in the bicarbonate concentration and fall in PCO2, that is respiratory. The most common of all these defects is metabolic acidosis. So metabolic acidosis is most important. And we are going to see something more about it also. As you people know, that two conditions which give rise to metabolic acidosis are diabetic ketoacidosis and lactic acidosis. In both, I repeat once more, fall in the bicarbonate concentration. But why does that occur? The reason for that is, for example, in diabetic ketoacidosis, the acid concentration, the proton donor concentration rises. This will react with bicarbonate ions forming H2CO3, etc. But the major point here is that the bicarbonate will be consumed in neutralizing the acid. So therefore, the bicarbonate concentration will fall. So there is primary fall in the bicarbonate concentration, therefore metabolic acidosis. And the only way to compensate for this is that you decrease the partial pressure of carbon dioxide. And how that can be done? That can be done by hyperventilation. That is something which is called Kusumul breathing. And it's actually a self-regulatory loop. Let me complete. Carbon dioxide will break down into CO2 and H2O. CO2 will react on the chemoreceptor to cause this Kusumul breathing, deep and fast breathing. So that's it. On the same line, you can just outline compensatory mechanism for other types also. For example, in metabolic alkalosis, there will be hypoventilation. What about respiratory acidosis? In respiratory acidosis, the primary defect is in the lungs, either bronchial obstruction, pneumonia, rib cage defect. The primary defect is hypoventilation. So primary defect is hypoventilation, PCO2 raise हो गया. The compensation will be by increasing the HCO3, bicarbonate concentration. And here kidneys play important role by increasing bicarbonate reabsorption or by from the tubular lumen or by increasing the bicarbonate generation. So that is just outlining. In metabolic acidosis and alkalosis, lungs play important role in compensation. And in respiratory variety, it is the kidney which plays important role. So towards the conclusion, I may again say that metabolic varieties change in the bicarbonate concentration. And in respiratory varieties, change in the partial pressure of carbon dioxide. And the compensation you can complete. You can, join the loose ends of the thread. Although, I have prepared some separate videos. For example, respiratory alkalosis, salicylate poisoning, metabolic alkalosis, pyloric stenosis. For details, you can see. For the present, suffices to say what is difference between metabolic and respiratory type. Try to explain with the help of Henderson-Hasselbalch equation. That's